Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us here at KAKM Studios for Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the warning advisory map here, the flood advisory that was out for the Nikolai area for the Kuskokwim River at Nikolai, that's ended here around noontime or a little after, so no warnings, watches, or advisories out anywhere in the state tonight. Fire danger map, a little bit up here on the north slope, nothing too serious, and then a narrow swath here in the Cup River Basin and also in the drier areas of the northern southeast coast there. And for the satellite imagery yesterday, quite a cloud area here over south central Alaska breaking out quite nicely about this time yesterday on into the evening, and some breaks on up to the north. Had a low pressure area here right about there, spinning some clouds and showers into the southern southeast coast, but conditions are quite nice and warm on up to the north. Out to the west, kind of a weak frontal system pushing some clouds eastward there across the southeast Bering Sea. More clouds here, northern Bering Sea across the Seward Peninsula, and not too bad on the Arctic coast. We had some showers right through there. So moving on to today, a lot more clearing and sunshine here across southern Alaska than what we saw yesterday. Some wispy clouds pushing in mainly western Kodiak Island there. A very weak system here brought some areas of light rain. That was about it, or drizzle here to portions of the southwest coast on back down toward the Alaska Peninsula there. Mostly fog here over the Pribilof Islands on down toward Adak. And southeast coast still have this low, a little farther to the southeast now, but that's still kind of on the easterly flow on the north side of that thing. Pulled a few showers, nothing significant, and some clouds into the southern panhandle, but temperatures still warming into the lower 70s, even down in that area. Upper 70s to as high as mid 80s for areas to the north. Some breaks here over the upper Yukon, Koyukuk Valley areas, and then some thunderstorms developed. And the most concentrated area this afternoon appeared to be right around here over the western Brooks Range area, and to a lesser extent to the east, and then some scattered strikes over the interior with a few developing showers along the Alaska Range, but a lot of sunshine here. Copper River Basin with some clouds mixed in to keep the sky interesting across south central Alaska. Here's that front pushing a narrow band of very light precipitation, mostly just clouds, areas of IFR possible there along the coast, across the southwest coast up to about possibly Nunivak Island, and isolated showers over the Nulato Hills. A lot of clouds out here over the west, right out into the Bering Sea area, Seward Peninsula, and some scattered shower activity across the western north slope on out towards Wainwright, and also over toward Kaktovik. A little bit of moisture there. And southeast coast again, partly mostly sunny in areas with this moisture mostly to the south there, but thunderstorms starting to break out there east of the border, more or less kind of drifting to the west there, but it looks like most of the showers through this afternoon were mostly staying off to the east. And for tonight, some of those may slip across the border, but probably won't amount to very much at all there. Otherwise, just a partly to mostly kind of night tonight coming up there with a risk of a light shower or two right along the coastline. And scattered showers, cloudy skies, southwest interior, actually from Bristol Bay right up northward there. And then showers really scatter out and become non-existent farther to the north, but a lot of clouds here across the interior areas. Less of that here, Prince William Sound, Susitna Valley, Matanuska areas, Copper River Basin, partly to mostly cloudy, on down in toward Kamishak Bay. And then this mass of moisture here, areas of IFR, definitely probably solid IFR for the Pribilos right down along the Alaska Peninsula. And that moisture spreading eastward slowly, again, kind of hanging along the coast there. And watching another front here push down out of the Russian Far East, which tomorrow moves, weakens, but probably bring a band of narrow light rain, drizzle, and fog here from the Bering Strait, from the Chukchi Sea, southward through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island with a weak trailing edge on into the Bering. Otherwise, just really light wind conditions, lots of low clouds, fog, IFR for the Bering Sea, drizzle, fog on the north side of the Alaska Peninsula. Bare conditions on the south side there with that west-northwest flow blowing across the area. Kodiak looks mostly cloudy, occasionally wet, more showery type nature of the precipitation there. Scattered showers in the afternoon along the western Alaska Range, maybe the Talkeetnas. And again, some scattered thunderstorm activity up here over the northern and central interior with highs back into the 70s here across the Copper River Basin. Southeast coast, partly to mostly sunny or cloudy, whichever way you want to look at it. And again, most of the showers will stay along and east of the border with still a chance of showers up here over the eastern north slope. Low clouds and fog right along the coastline there from Barrow eastward to Barter Island, Kaktovik. Maybe a little bit better back here to the west as this trough approaches. A little more offshore flow there for the west side, but I don't think it'll completely clear it out altogether there. And some showers here from Selwick Valley southward to the Nulato Hills, maybe the Amonic, Unalakleet area. And otherwise, partly sunny for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Bristol Bay, not too bad as well. And still looking at some partly sunny skies for south central Alaska with, again, showers here off to the west. And then for Sunday, it looks like a more organized band of showers will pull in right along the Alaska Range there. Some may make its way to the east, but just look for a few more clouds here in northern Cook Inlet into the valleys with maybe showers developing over the Talkeetnas. That's about it. Otherwise, Yakutat back across Prince William Sound, partly to mostly sunny into the Copper River Basin as well. And maybe some sun there for Kodiak Island with that more northwest flow and not a whole lot of moisture. We've got this system here may spread some light rain or increase the chances for precipitation, mostly across Prince of Wales Island, Dixon Entrance, maybe up to Port Alexander. Otherwise, mostly cloudy for the Panhandle with a few scattered showers. Northern Link Canal, Glacier Bay, on up across the pass into Canada. Out to the west, nothing much, just a lot of high pressure for light winds for the Aleutians, low clouds and fog again. Areas of drizzle here, again coming down up along the Alaska Peninsula. Just a risk of that getting into the eastern Aleutians, but look for mostly cloudy skies, occasional IFR there as well. And areas of IFR northward along the southwest coast, again right up into maybe the Bering Strait, probably just marginal VFR up in this area, but higher pressure there. Look for sunshine, especially over the inland areas of the Seward Peninsula. Sunshine here across the southwest, and also Kivalina up across Red Dog Mine and Cape Lisburne, Point Hope. Could be some partly sunny skies there. Otherwise cloudy, definitely dry. And for temperatures across the southeast coast today, lower to mid 70s here across, well, much of the area. 55 Elfin Cove, but up to 70 at Sitka. Same thing in Klawock, Metlakatla, 72. And 72 also reached at Juneau. 84 in Skagway. That was a warm spot in the state today. And that was a record high for July 8th, the old record being 83 set in 1965. Nice day here, warm, Copper River Basin, 70s. That's McCarthy at Kennecott River at 77, and 72 in Valdez. Cordova up to 75, Seward at 77, and nice 70s through the Susitna and Matanuska Valley areas on down into Anchorage. Kenai 66, a little cooler at Homer at the airport with 59, 63 down at Kodiak, and upper 60s to lower 70s across the Tanana Valley on out to the central interior, and that same temperature pattern up across the Koyukuk and upper Yukon valleys. Mid-60s through the Brooks Range, 67 at Umiat Airport with a 59 at Nuiqsut, just 41 over Kaktovik, up to 58 at Barrow, 56 Point Lay, 48 at Point Hope, otherwise 58 at Kotzebue, and a 50-degree reading at Wales, 52 in Nome. Lower 60s here across the western interior valleys, and 64 at Ambler, 68 down at McGrath, 50s here across the southwest all the way out to the coast and into the Bering Sea. Near 50 for the Pribilofs, upper 40s to lower 50s here for the Aleutians, but in Alaska up to 58 and 50s for the Alaska Peninsula. And lows for tonight, lower 50 or upper 50s here for the upper Yukon Valley, otherwise 50s all the way back down to the coast, the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay, including the Panhandle. 40s to the north, and ties tomorrow again 75 to 80 here across the interior. A little cooler here for the southeast coast, but still upper 60s to lower 70s, and mid 70s for the Susitna Valley areas, upper 50s for the Alaska Peninsula. Tomorrow, look for considerable IFR along the coast and a ways inland there for the north slope, but staying VFR back to the west, VFR across all of the interior, all the way down into the northern Gulf of Alaska, Prince William Sound, VFR for the Panhandle, a lot of IFR here, Bristol Bay, right along the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians, all of the Bering Sea, pretty good chance of seeing some IFR right up through the strait into the Chukchi Sea, which by tomorrow afternoon pretty well holds, no change here, staying really socked in areas across the Bering Sea, down to the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and north of most of the Aleutians, but covering the western areas. And then we've got some marginal VFR in the south side of the Kenai Peninsula, south of Prince William Sound, marginal VFR Kodiak Island, northeast Bristol Bay, and now that IFR burned off and back to the coastline tomorrow afternoon. Moving on to passes, Anatuvik, VFR, Brooks Range, open tomorrow the entire stretch of the way. Same thing for the Alaska Range. All the passes, VFR, windy, Isabel Mintest, as well as Lake Clark, Merrill, and rainy. All VFR, Tanita, same forecast, Portage, VFR, both entrances, Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels shaping up like this, really, again, not much of a variation, 8 to 10,000 feet over just about all of Alaska. You can see really no gradient at all across the state. Thermal gradient, that is. You got 8,000 foot pocket here over the southeast Bering Alaska Peninsula, and a little bit chillier air dropping in behind that cold front as it pulls in eastward toward the Bering Strait. And from there, icing above 10,000 feet. The mixed variety here, Brooks Range, maybe down into the western Koyukuk Valley areas, otherwise icing free over much of the state, maybe some there above 10,000. Kodiak, and then with that front coming into the Bering Sea down to St. Lawrence Island, northward into the Chukchi. And then the jet stream south of the area here, we've got that upper level low today just southwest of the Pribilofs. It's going to track up to about this position tomorrow afternoon. But the main jet, along with the precipitation, staying south of the state, and then this system kind of gradually shifting eastward. So not too bad over the southeast coast. Very light wind flow across much of Alaska at this elevation at 33,000 feet, coming down to 9,000 feet. Light winds also just about non-existent here over the eastern interior, northwest Canada. Light for the southeast coast, 10 knots across the north slope. And then ahead of that front, a band of 20 to 30 knot winds coming from the Bering Strait, maybe down to St. Lawrence Island, up and nicking the northwest coast. West-northwesterlies, 15 to 25, maybe up to 30 knots way out there to the west. And for the 3,000 foot winds, very weak low over the eastern interior, very light and variable winds with that, and then maybe south to southeast, 10 to 20, up to 30 knots there for the northwest coast, lighter down to the south, more of a northwest direction, but light across the Bering Sea, and really light winds for the Gulf of Alaska, just 5 knots, mostly onshore, very weak and variable there for the Panhandle, and even light winds here for the Aleutians, just 10 to 15 knots out of the west, and maybe coming across the peninsula there, 20 to 25, and that clipping the Trinity Islands. And for the turbulence forecast for tomorrow, again from say Sitkinak on down along and on the lee side of the Alaska Peninsula, could be some light to very isolated chop, moderate chop, probably no moderate at all, just light. Light turbulence here, St. Lawrence Island through the Bering Strait, and again catching the northwest coast. And after the segment, hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Thanks to the support of Alaska Public Media, we are able to bring you Hangar Flying. This evening, we are honored to have Ross Nixon back as our guest. Ross is a commercial pilot, writer, and author of a new book called Finding Carla, the story that forever changed aviation search and rescue. Welcome back to Hangar Flying, Ross.
It's great to be here again, Mary. Thank you.
On our last shows, we talked about some of the positive things that came from an airplane crash and the death of a family. Some of these things include the requirement for ELTs in aircraft and some valuable lessons in conducting search and rescue missions and flight plans. So you're a commercial pilot and you also fly for fun. You have an airplane of your own. Can you give us some advice? Is there one piece of equipment that you never fly without?
Well, with me, I always have survival gear on any of the planes that I fly. And, and that means food, clothing, shelter. And I know when I flew in the bush, or not, in rural Alaska, I flew things like Caravans and Navajos and 207s, like a lot of other people have done. And then even now in the Dash 8, I always have a couple thousand calories worth of food with me. I have, if I'm going somewhere, I dress for the terrain. If I'm going to Dead Horse from Anchorage, it might be beautiful down here, but up there it could be 30 or 40 below. And, and I feel that, I'm responsible for what happens to my people that are on the airplane. So I'll always have a snow machine suit in a bag, or I'll have a heavy-duty parka, things like that, so I can take care of my people if I need to, for some reason we need to go outside the airplane. And so I would say that would be it, the, clothing and food.
And I think those were two of the lessons that were really stressed in your book, the hardships that they faced because they didn't have appropriate clothing, and they didn't have adequate calories. No, for whatever reason, those, they did have extra clothing, and if you read the letters in the diary of these folks that survived it, you can see that they did, they had city clothes, they were going on vacation in Texas, it was warmer, and luckily they had enough stuff that, they had 4 or 5 layers of clothes on, but they really didn't have any, sleeping bags, things like that. Space blankets, I don't know if they existed back in '67, but they could have had a little bit more stuff, and definitely no food. From the start they had lemon drops, some M&Ms, and they describe eating, 6 M&Ms a day and lemon drops, and they had some jelly, from the trees in their backyard that they were going to bring down as a gift, and and that just lasted a real short time, and they're they ended up eating milk of magnesia tablets and things like that, and then after about a week they just ran out of everything. So I think a lot of the conditions in the book, crashing in the mountains in Northern California, are similar to conditions that somebody might experience in Alaska if a plane were to go down. And I think the lessons in your book are important for pilots everywhere, but especially in Alaska. So do you have any advice for pilots and for people who are flying as passengers to be prepared for, just in event things go badly? Yeah,
I think, again, getting back to, taking care of yourself, you should expect that of your passengers. And, passengers, they shouldn't show up for a flight in rural Alaska or really anywhere just in tennis shoes and shorts. We'd see those sort of things. And, having your survival gear on you, I think, is a good idea if you can do that. Some kind of vest, where you have things in your pockets that, may help you if you're immobilized or sort of trapped in the wreckage. You can take care of yourself. I think that would be a pretty good element. And I think, again, really just sticking to your plan is really important. So, survival gear and then having a plan and staying with it. I just, frustrates me when I hear of people that sort of jump in a plane and go and then they don't have a plan, or that, they don't follow their plan. And then one thing that pilots can do, if they've done all the right things, they have the gear, they have the communications, they're following the flight plan, is let their family know what to do if they turn up missing. Because a friend of mine just a while ago, he went out to Montague Island and then he didn't call his wife on the sat phone. She called me and said, what do I do? So, we talked and got her hooked up with the trooper dispatch, and they just started launching a helo, a Coast Guard helicopter to Montague Island, and then my friend did call on his sat phone.
Wow.
And he had not done what he'd always done. Every time he would land, he would call home and say, hey, I'm here. So, those are some of the things that people can do to make things a little bit safer. And then, again, if you go down and your family expects to hear from you, then, the rescue is underway a little bit quicker than, if people know what to do. So.
Good advice.
Yeah.
One last time, can you tell us where and when your book will be available?
Hey, thanks for asking that, because I want to sell books up here, especially in Alaska, because I'm an Alaskan and an Alaskan pilot. But the book is called Finding Carla. It's available on Amazon.com right now. It's on Barnes & Noble's on their website, and then it's on the ASA website, the ASA, the book company out of Seattle. And it's available for pre-order. ASA is going to announce it at Oshkosh at the end of July, and then all the pre-ordered books are going to be shipped out right at the end of July. So if you want it to get a first-run press edition, that's how you can do it.
Very good. Ross, thanks so much for being our guest on Hangar
Thanks,
Flying.
Mary.
Congratulations on your accomplishment, and thank you for working to help improve safety for pilots and the public. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. Until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Sea ice analysis for this afternoon showing open water here, Bering Strait northward. Now over to the coast there, either side of Point Lay, still some concentrations right in this area, and less of the heavier, older ice now along the eastern Arctic coast. In fact, there's open water now along the eastern Beaufort, or along the Beaufort Sea coast through here, and still not so much there around Barrow. And the forecast is, again, to continue to slowly melt and drift around for the next 4 or 5 days. Marine forecast, westerlies all along the coast in the offing for tomorrow, about 10 to 15 knots. Pretty light seas, only 5 to 6 feet. Got westerlies at 20 knots for Clarence Strait, seas at about 3 feet. Otherwise, southerlies 10 to 15 for the central and northern inside waters. Then for Sunday, kind of a change in the direction here, picking up south 15 for the south coast, southeast at the same speed there on the north side. Seas still pretty light, 5 to 6 feet, and southerlies 15 northerly canal. Same thing for Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait, very light variable to southeast breezes. And for Prince William Sound, southwest at 10. Same thing here for Cook Inlet, southwest 10 knots with slight seas. South to southwest at 15 for the North Gulf Coast, 4 to 5 foot seas. And then we've got small craft advisories here at Kodiak Island. Southwesterlies there at 25 knots, 20 knots Shelikof Strait. And then for Sunday, still looking at small craft advisories. More areas now. West 25 here along the east side of Kodiak Island. The Barren Islands, northwest 25, Kamishak Bay. West at 25, west 20 for Shelikof Strait. Otherwise, south to west, northern Cook Inlet there, west at 15 with 3 foot seas. Light variable winds from the North Gulf Coast. No change for Prince William Sound. Bristol Bay, west 15 up to 20 knots here down the peninsula. Small craft advisories on the south side from Cape Sarachev up to Sitkinak that way at about 25 knots with 7 to 8 foot seas. And then for Sunday, northwest across the peninsula, 20 knots with 5 to 7 foot seas. Westerlies at 20 there for Bristol Bay. Seas building to 7 feet. Northwest 25, Castle Cape to Sitkinak. And for the eastern Aleutians, tomorrow, 10 to 20 right out of the west, seas 5 to 7 feet. And pretty light winds here for the central Aleutians, all westerly at 15 with 5 to 6 foot seas. Atka all the way out to Shimei and Attu. And the outlook for Sunday, southwest 20, picking up a little bit there, but not too bad. And then light variable winds over to about Adak, and actually light variable winds all the way over to almost Nikolsky. And then you go westerly here at 15 for the Unalaska Island with 4 to 5 foot seas. And then for the southwest coast, we've got west winds at 15, 4-foot seas, west 20 for the Pribilofs, a little brisk there with 6-foot seas. Southwest at 20, St. Lawrence Island, seas running about 5 feet. And for Sunday, westerlies at 20 knots, St. Lawrence Island, southwest 20 here for St. Matthew Island, northwest 20 south of Nunivak Island, and pretty light breezes now for the Pribilofs. Up along the Arctic coast, central eastern coast, all east at 15, 3-foot seas here on the east side, and southeast 15 on the west side. And then from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, we're looking at small craft advisories for those south winds. And then on Sunday, it looks like those will lighten up, turn westerly out here, 15 knots, northwest 15 on the western Arctic coast. Then pretty light easterlies becoming northeast over toward Demarcation Point there, 3-foot seas. Nothing too serious at all. And then for the forecast for tonight, just a lot of variable clouds here, more clouds here in the west than there will be in the east, and especially less clouds down to the south. Isolated showers slowly diminishing, along with the thunderstorms diminishing this evening. Partly to mostly risk of there for the southeast coast. Widespread area, very light precipitation, mostly IFR type of weather. Pribilofs on down to the Alaska Peninsula, and then this system spread some rain into St. Lawrence Island up through the Bering Strait, and actually some of that moisture comes eastward on Sunday here into the interior. Could be some pretty good moderate showers along the western Alaska Range, kind of tapering off down to the Aleutian Range and the peninsula. Thunderstorms over the eastern interior, mostly cloudy skies, mostly sunny there for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and a chance of rain moves into the southern Panhandle. Otherwise, again, thunderstorms developing along the eastern border up there, and then IFR in the eastern Arctic coast, but not too bad here. Seward Peninsula, partly to mostly sunny for the southwest. Have a great...
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, sustaining Alaska's pipeline and its operations today and into the future.